Let's take a closer look at the light probe on the right for shading or diffuse reflection. Sometimes this is also called matte surface shading. It is the effect of light that communicates form. I have a digital sculpture here that I made, and the light is coming from the top. Let's move the light to the side, and I'm going to create a light probe for this light direction. I'll show you exactly how to do this in pencil in a moment. Can you see that the ball I painted represents a connection between our subject and the environment that it's in? The light probe captures the lighting condition in this scene. So let's draw a light probe together. You need a pencil and an eraser, and a piece of paper or something to draw on. I will do a little light guide first, quickly, to show you what I would do next to a drawing I'm working on. Then I'll walk you through the steps of building a light guide. I want you to see the size of this drawing. I keep these small. The main job of the light guide is to show me the light direction. Sometimes I draw a little arrow and an indication for the light source. But you don't really need those. All the lighting information is encoded in the light guide itself. Alright, to really understand what I did here, we have to look at the anatomy of an ellipse. An ellipse has a major axis and a minor axis. The long one is called the major axis. And the short one is the minor axis. This is what gives you the power to control your light direction. It's super important. So let me start again with a circle. Every light guide begins with a circle. And then the major axis. So the major axis of the ellipse of the terminator. That's what I'm adding. Then the minor axis, and I extend the line of the minor axis because this line always points towards the light source. If you know the direction of the minor axis, you know the light direction. Next is to draw the actual ellipse of the terminator. And keep in mind, this is a three-dimensional idea. This is an edge loop, a rubber band that goes around the form. So always draw the terminator with this idea in mind. Alright, let's do it again, start to finish. Circle, major axis, light direction, which is at a right angle, terminator ellipse, and then I'm going to clean up the light side of my light guide to prepare for toning in of the shadow side. I'm speeding this up for your convenience. Also, I'd like to point out that the light guide is not meant to be a very refined drawing. It's a little tool, and its only purpose is to show you the light direction. It's a sort of problem-solving sketch. So, that's how you build a light guide. Let's have some fun with this. You can join me now if you haven't already. We'll do 3 different light directions. So draw a circle, then the major axis, which is at a right angle to the light direction. Okay. And then the terminator ellipse. And filling the shadows again. And cleaning up the lights. Alright, let's do another one. I will place the major axis at the same angle, which means the light direction is still coming from the top left. But now I'm going to play with the terminator ellipse and make it much more open. Looking at this new ellipse, you can see that the distance from the ellipse to the major axis is much bigger here than on that first ellipse I've drawn. Do you see that? So this means that in the first drawing, the light source is further away from us than in the second drawing. By changing how big or open the terminator ellipse is in the second drawing, I've actually moved the light source closer to us. So now we have a bigger form light and a smaller form shadow. Hang in there while I shade. And then we're going to draw arrows for the light directions. Not only are we going to draw arrows, but we'll draw them in perspective. There's an ellipse right there at the tip of the arrow. And I can simply draw the same ellipse that I drew on the light guide below. See, it's a pretty open ellipse. I use these arrows to make sure I understand the light direction. Now, let's do the other one. The light direction is much more shallow here, so the ellipse I draw for the arrow, again, is the same ellipse that I use on the terminator below. And at the end of the arrow, there's that same ellipse again. Let's do a third light guide. Whoops, sometimes they go wonky. No problem, we'll just try it again. There are no mistakes, only happy accidents, right? Major axis and the light direction. And this time I'm going to push the light away from us. So we will have a lot of shadow on this light guide. A little bit of cleanup. Sometimes it's faster to go a little bit too far with the shadow and then cut into it with the eraser. Okay, now for the arrow. See the ellipse on the sphere? I'm drawing the same ellipse. We're looking up at the arrow, or the arrow is pointing at us. So we've drawn all the light guides with the light coming from the left. What if we want the light to come from the right? Very easy. Draw the light direction, then draw the major axis at a right angle to the light direction. Then draw the terminator ellipse. You can choose how open or closed you want that ellipse to be. Shade it in. And there you go. Clean up the form light and then draw the arrow. Beautiful. You now know how to create a light guide. There's one more thing I want to point out, since we're drawing so many ellipses. Here's the ellipse and the major axis. A lot of beginners draw an ellipse like this. They do one half and then the other half. I cringe seeing this. The sharp corner is what creates a fish. See, you can add a fin here and the fin here and you've got a fish. And this is a sad fish because it was hoping to be an ellipse. So I use a trick to avoid this, and that is to begin drawing the ellipse a little before the bend, before the curve. So for the light guide, draw a circle, major axis, and then draw the ellipse a little bit before. I hope you can see what I'm doing there. This also really helps my brain to remember that this is round, that there's volume involved here. One final shading. And there you have it. You now know how to make a light guide using the major axis and the minor axis of the Terminator ellipse. And avoiding any fish along the way. Alright, so here's a scene with a ball, a camera, and a light source up here. And if we go and look through this camera, we can see that right now the Terminator is going through the center of the sphere as the light is coming straight from the top. So I'm going to rotate this light down to the side here, 90 degrees, like so. And now if we look through the camera, we see the sphere is cut in half in this angle. Light is coming from the right. What I'm going to do is move the light forward around the side, closer to the camera, this way, and I'm going to move it 45 degrees. Okay, so now we're exactly in the middle. And I'm going to give you the challenge of drawing what the camera sees now. If we're looking through the camera at the sphere, what do we see? Where does the Terminator go? And I'm going to purposefully not show you a similar view. That's your job. So draw a circle and draw what the camera would see with this light situation. And I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Okay, are you ready? Let's take a look through the camera. And this is where the Terminator is. You might be surprised how far to the left that Terminator has gone. If we bring the light back to the side, like so, that's light coming from the right. Now we're moving the light halfway to the front view. And I would estimate that the Terminator would end up somewhere here. But it doesn't. It goes way beyond. It goes really far. That's the main point I want you to get from this. Let's do the two final exercises. Here is a head. Do you think you could draw a light guide for it? This one is pretty straightforward. Press pause and start drawing. Okay, 5 seconds to go. Press pause if you're not ready. Okay, here it is. So the light is just coming straight from the right. Easy. Round 2. Where's the light coming from now? Press pause and go. And revealing. Alright, so the light is coming straight from the top. This was the warm-up. Let's make it a bit more challenging. Draw a light guide for this light direction. And I'll give you a hint. The light is coming either slightly from behind the head or slightly from the front. Which one is it? Think carefully. Five seconds to go. And let's take a look. How did it go? Let me do an analysis. We can tell that the light must be coming from behind the person because there's no light anywhere on the front of the face. The forehead, the cheeks, the nose, those places usually catch some light, even if the light is coming straight from the top. But here, they're all in shadow. Maybe you were also able to see that there's an overall tilt to the terminator. That's the angle of the major axis, which shows you the left or right tilt of the light direction. Alright, now let's mix it up a bit. Let's do it the other way around. I give you the light guide, and you are drawing the head. You can totally do this. Just draw a stick figure head if you have to. Keep it simple. There's no need to make a refined rendering. Just estimate roughly what falls into light and what falls into shadow. Of course, if you have a lot of experience, I challenge you to get it as right as possible. Press pause and make a little sketch. I'm revealing in 3, 2, and here's the solution. This is the downside of teaching online. I would love to see your drawing. This is a difficult task. If you got anywhere near the solution that the 3D render gives you, you have my respect. And I hope you feel like you're learning and getting better at this.